Imagine this. You walk into a bookstore, and instead of just being able to sit down and read any book you want as you wish, before you are allowed to enter, you have to sign up with all of your personal data, and you have to share with the bookstore owner all of the different books that you are picking up and reading. And then, that bookstore owner is now allowed to sell all of that personal and private data of yours to the local businesses so that they can profit off of who you are and what products you might be interested in. Now, that's very dumbed down, but that is literally what is happening with the internet. Things are getting so much worse. I don't know what it is, but there is this wave of censorship that has been like going across the entire world now. In Australia and then in the UK now, there is the Kids Online Safety Act in the UK, where now people have to use age verification, and it all does look good on the surface. It is under the guise of, hey, let's protect kids on the internet from things that are bad, like pornography. Yes, I am 100% on board with that. The problem is that this is now a huge like fear-mongering wave, where now what's going on is YouTube is now going to be using AI to verify users' age. In addition to that, Spotify is also going to be adding on age verification, and these are my major concerns with that. So all looks good and well with YouTube. Okay, we're going to use AI to determine, based on the user's patterns, is this someone who is under the age of 18, and if our AI machine learning algorithm determines that that user is under the age of 18, we are going to heavily restrict things so that they won't be shown harmful content. Okay, sounds good so far. But how much more money do you think YouTube would make if just 1% or 5% of users who are not logged into the site are flagged as people who are underage? Then what ends up happening is, in order to appeal the process and get unrestricted access without needing to log in, now what they have to do is they have to provide a selfie, like biometric data, or they have to provide their driver's license. And again, what is stopping YouTube or Google from taking this data and then just selling it? As if the rampant ads on like a news article or a website, or YouTube in general, the ads have been getting so long. Even on Twitch, the ads are crazy. As if the ads are not enough right now. Something smells so wrong here, where everything is under the guise of, oh, let's make the internet more safe for children. But unfortunately, really what it looks like is, again, think about it. How much more money would YouTube make if 1% of users were incorrectly flagged as underage? Now they have to go through the appeal process, and now people who are browsing YouTube not being logged in, so they cannot be tracked legally. Now what they have to do is, legally, they have to provide their information so they can be tracked. Essentially, let's just go back to the bookstore analogy that I shared earlier. That seems to be what's going on here, and it is very disturbing. Recently, I have been trying to get through The Rehearsal by Nathan Fielder, and I have just been watching a few episodes in season 2. He talks about how on Paramount Plus, he had an episode of Nathan For You where, yes, he was poking fun and using satire to poke fun at Nazis, and he had swastikas on the screen, right? But at the end of the day, all jokes aside, it was to raise awareness for victims of the Holocaust and Judaism. What ends up happening, though, is that Paramount in Germany said, due to certain sensitivities, like, we're just not going to air that episode. Then what ends up happening is that entire ideology has now spread across the entire world. Now nowhere you can watch that episode where on Nathan For You, Nathan Fielder makes this company to raise awareness for Holocaust survivors. But on the flip side, if you look up Adolf Hitler on Netflix, Paramount Plus, any streaming service, you'll find tons of documentaries all about it. And what Nathan Fielder was trying to say is, hey, when you search for Judaism, nothing comes up. It's a broken ideology that has spread all across the world, and it seems to be that is what's happening with all this rampant censorship. It's all under the guise of, sensitivities, we need to make the internet safer for kids. And yeah, I'm not against that. I do stand by my argument that I strongly feel that should be happening under a household level. But anyways, it just makes you wonder, how much more is this envelope gonna get pushed? It started in the UK, now YouTube and Spotify are gonna be doing age verification, and it's going to allow these companies to further track people and sell data, and also just restrict things online. YouTube's selfie collection AI age checks are concerning, privacy experts say. Privacy experts are demanding transparency after YouTube announced it would test using AI to estimate user ages in the US ahead of wider rollout of the age check system. Throughout the first half of August, YouTube will begin interpreting a variety of signals to determine if certain users are under 18. No new user data will be collected, but those signals could include things like the types of videos a user is searching for, the categories of videos they have watched, or the longevity of the account, YouTube said. Anyone determined to be too young will automatically be hit with protections, with YouTube disabling their personalized advertising, turning on digital well-being tools, and limiting repetitive views of some kinds of content, determined to be harmful or too mature. YouTube claims it has been estimating age in other markets for some time where it is working well, but it's clearly not a perfect system, as the company has set up appeals process for any adults accidentally flagged as teens by AI. That appeals process seems problematic, privacy experts told Ars, the website I'm reading this from, as it requires users to submit a government ID, credit card, or selfie to verify their actual age. YouTube does not specify in its blog what will happen with this data. Suspicious. Asked for comment, YouTube would only confirm to Ars that the company does not retain data from a user's ID or payment card for the purposes of advertising. I think we can assume that it means it will be retained for other purposes. David Green, senior staff attorney and civil liberties director for the Electronic Frontier Foundation, told Ars. But the lack of transparency leaves users guessing about those other purposes, as risks of leaks or breaches may risk exposing vulnerable users who rely on anonymity to use YouTube. Green told Ars that YouTube's statement on data retention is even weaker and stands in stark contrast to hollow statements, sometimes made by companies such as, "We'll do our best to protect your data. We've been assured that the third-party vendor we use will not retain the data." Suzanne Bernstein, who serves as counsel for the Electronic Privacy Information Center, said it's tough to rely on any company's promises when it comes to using data for other purposes, like enhancing its user profiles or selling data to third parties. She suggested that users would better be informed if YouTube shared information about how data collected for reverse age checks is stored, whether it's ever sold, and perhaps more importantly, how soon it's deleted. Until then, discomfort with certain appeal processes which require providing really sensitive personal information is totally understandable. I think the increased surveillance of user behavior is not privacy protective. The most privacy protective options involves retaining the least amount of information and certainly not sharing it with third parties, which is not something that YouTube here has promised to do. In addition to a lack of transparency around the data retention practices, Bernstein noted that YouTube is not being very transparent about how effective its age AI checks are, which is a recurring AI industry pattern that's often repeated as the tech is hyped across many sectors. Green noted that YouTube does not seem to have conducted any external audits on the AI system or provided any academic way of looking at it. Even the best age estimation tech has about a 2-year error window on each side, experts pointed out. That could mean users between 16 and 20 are especially susceptible to incorrect age estimations, which potential errors going both ways, perhaps labeling teens as adults or adults as teens, in addition to perhaps anyone whose viewing habits strike the system as immature. YouTubers who want to appeal AI mistakes do not have great options. They're all bad, but in particular, sharing selfies or any kind of biometric age estimation tools without significant privacy and data security safeguards is risky. Any biometric data collection is really bad and creepy and inhibiting to users who are sensitive about identifying themselves while online, such as political dissidents or victims of abuse. Suddenly, it could be their burden to submit biometric information or government ID in order to use the service. That's a huge change for people used to being on YouTube without using their real name or without allowing their information to be traced across the internet. A breach of biometric information is far more significant than a breach of some other information, so we should be concerned about them collecting the selfies. So Green expects that the more pressure platforms and websites face to age-gate services, the more radically it could change people's relationships with the internet. On a platform where creators reliably generate the highest earnings, YouTube's AI age checks could possibly serve as a harbinger of a future internet where every popular account can be unmasked and linked to a known entity. Once you get into this bad situation where it's impossible to use these services anonymously, then it really depends on someone's own threat model about what's going to be the least harmful way for them to use the site. And then Spotify's UK users must now provide age verification to access certain content. Here's why. UK music fans will be required to use age verification to access certain content on streaming and social media services as a recent law change takes effect. It requires certain websites to seek age verification from their users. The goal is to limit the amount of children viewing adult content such as pornography or other violent or harmful content that encourages suicide, self-harm, and eating disorders. The bill requires users of social media and other online platforms such as Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Google to provide photo ID proving that they are over the age of 18 to access certain adult content. Spotify says that verification is necessary to help us identify if users are eligible to access some Spotify content and features like music videos that are labeled as 18+ by right holders. All users attempting to access content labeled as 18+ will be prompted to submit a video that estimates facial age or provide government-issued identification, such as a passport or a driver's license. After the required proof has been verified by digital identity company Yoti, the service will delete all the user data it has has in its possession. You cannot use Spotify if you don't meet the minimum age requirements for the market you're in. If you cannot confirm you're old enough to use Spotify, your account will be deactivated and eventually deleted. Users are required to be at least 13 years old when they sign up for a Spotify account. Families on a joint plan can restrict access to content with explicit lyrics for certain users. So look, point being with all this is that it seems like gone are the days where, like the analogy I mentioned, you go into a bookstore, you can be anonymous. You don't have to share your full name with anybody. You can go in and you can consume any content that you want. And you used to be able to do that with YouTube, or you used to be able to do that online in general. But it seems like more and more there is a bigger and bigger push within the last few weeks for everyone to be tracked on the internet. And it's very concerning. I don't know about you, but if I went into a bookstore, I don't think I would go in. If someone said, hey, you have to sign up and you have to tell us all the books that you're going to be picking up and reading, and we're going to track your read history in this bookstore, and then, we're telling you that we're not going to sell the data, and don't worry, we will delete the data as soon as you leave. Totally, rest assured. Yeah, and by the way, that data is managed by another company, but don't worry, they're definitely going to delete the data as soon as you left the bookstore. There is no way to actually verify that the data is going to be deleted. If anything, you can call me a conspiracy theorist, but this is sounding more and more like what Edward Snowden had revealed, where the NSA was just like mass surveilling the entire country. But is it about surveillance? Is it about selling data? Is it about tracking people and restricting and controlling the internet? It seems like all the above. Again, call me a conspiracy theorist, but this just seems so blatant. It is really starting to irritate me how all of this, the surface level, is all about, oh, let's protect the children. People should be doing that on a household level. Anyways, that's enough about my update.